Losing a job is never easy, and it can take a major toll on someone's self worth and their confidence. Our next guest has a new book out called The Layoff Journey. Steve Jaffe joins us now with some advice on how to navigate this emotional roller coaster and figure out what is next. Hi, Steve. Welcome to Daily Flash.
Hi, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
So, you have 5 tips or coping strategies when it comes to job loss. Let's start with the first one. You say shock and denial. That is the part of the first stage, and you need to ground
Yeah.
yourself in reality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the stages of grief. People go through these after a divorce, after a layoff, after the death of a loved one, and they're very real. Shock and denial is one of the very first ones, although they don't necessarily follow in a very linear manner. But grounding yourself in reality is really important. You have to acknowledge what happened. You don't want to ignore or minimize it. And accepting that the layoff is real is really the first step in moving forward and moving through the effects of a layoff.
Okay, you also mentioned anger, which we know is one of the 7 stages of grief. You say anger is okay, so maybe we should embrace it.
Absolutely, it's normal, and you want to give yourself permission to feel angry. You just don't want to let it consume you, and you want to use that energy to set some boundaries, learn from the experience, and plan your next move.
You also say it's important to think about shifting your mindset from what if to what's next. I think a lot of people go down that what if rabbit hole. What if I coulda, shoulda, woulda. But you're saying you need to shift that and ask, what's next for you?
So often people will blame themselves for the layoff, that maybe they've done something, and they go through that loop of if only I had, what could have I have done different? And instead of thinking about it that way, you want to frame it as what's next, so that you're really processing the future possibilities, and really kind of use that opportunity to evaluate your goals, maybe pivot or pursue something that you've always wanted to do. But spend your time and energy on thinking about what's next, not about what happened and what you might have been able to change.
Yeah, that is so important because it's easy to get lost in that spin cycle. You also say number 4 on your list, prioritize self care and mental health. But this is really important, especially right now.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably one of the most important things. Healthy self-care, positive mental health is like money in the bank. It's like putting deposits in. This will help you throughout the journey as you manage and cope with all of the stages of grief. You want to give yourself a daily routine, some structure, whether that's exercise, maybe it's reaching out for support, therapy, career coaching, talking to friends. You really don't want to go through it alone. So making sure that you're getting enough rest, you're eating well, you're exercising, all of these things, setting yourself up in a positive frame of mind.
And you also say part of the process, number 5 on your list, is acceptance and moving on. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard to
yeah.
accept our current situations, but you say this is key.
Yeah, this is where you can really take control of your next chapter. A layoff doesn't define you. What you do next does. So you want to redefine success on your own terms, and make sure that you are um, really listening to yourself and processing all of the stages in a way that you come out of it, um, maybe having some growth, some reinvention, and hopefully some resilience.
I think depending on a good, strong social network of real friends, of people in person, as opposed to being on social media, could be another important part of the journey here. And I just want to get your opinion right now. We're seeing a lot of changes in the workplace with AI coming on, with certain companies downsizing for things being streamlined. What's the best approach when it comes to maybe dealing with someone who's going through this? How can we be of help?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that about 40% of all Americans have been laid off in their career at least once. So everyone in some way, shape, or form has gone through or is going through this. And having some empathy, having an understanding that typically with most layoffs, the person that's being laid off isn't at fault. They're the victim of some sort of economic or budgetary reason, why the company had to downsize. So it's easy for someone who's been laid off to feel some shame and embarrassment, and those around them want to help them process it in a way where they don't feel like they're to blame. That kind of blame game can get a really slippery slope in terms of things like we mentioned, your mental health, and certainly anger and some of the other stages. So I think the first step in feeling like, listen, this was a circumstance beyond my control, and I'm going to move through it. I'm going to move past it, and those around them helping prop them up and give them the resources to get through it.
Steve, thank you so much. For more information and to get a copy of Steve's book, The Layoff Journey, please visit thestevejaffe.com.